Okay, it looks like we're recording. Thanks for coming today. I'm going to talk about controlling data entry and required fields with adaptive cards. This is more of just a concept that I kind of built largely to see if I could do it. So, it may not be a huge resource, but the concept of how you can kind of extend required fields options will hopefully come through. I'm Dan Snyder, Director of Advancement Services at Bennington College. Who am I? Computer science background, accidental DBM, and I love it. For those of you who were here yesterday, sorry for the repeat of this. And I'm a dad to 3 kids who like to keep me busy. So with that, I'm gonna get out of here. And so what I talk about today is just kind of how we proposal entry. This was something that had always been an issue. We do a summer review, and our wonderful gift officers would try their hardest. And thank you about the sound. Hopefully this is gonna work a little bit better. Turning off my camera. Okay, perfect. You don't need to see me anyway for this, so it works out. But anyway, our wonderful gift officers tried their hardest, but they'd spell 18 different ways of FY22 scholarships or something like that. And so I really wanted to find a way to make that, control that a little bit more. And all of the fields weren't required, or I didn't want to make them required necessarily. We went through several iterations. I went to a Microsoft form, but then when these adaptive cards came up, I said, let's give this a try. So this also will help make sure that even those fields that you can't have tables for, you can put options there. So really what I started with, and largely a lot of this, we talked about some links, are the 2 really great blog posts that Ben Lambert did about data entry with adaptive cards. He also had, they also created some flow templates that are you can find it in the Power Automate site. That we'll use today. But where I'm going to start is with this adaptive card designer, because that's just one of the pieces that you're going to, that this is built upon. So really you can drag and drop any of these. If you wanted to put, let's see, a choice set, I could just kind of drag it and drop it over here and put some information over. I'm not going to build too many, but what you can see I've done here, proposal name, for example, is a choice set. And down here, it's got all the JSON that we're going to need later on, and I can put in the values that I want. If I go down a little farther for proposal purpose, you can see I have this very creative placeholder, insert NXT table values here. And so that's where we're going to get some of that information in. And this is a 2-flow process. The first flow is really just building this card, and I made it into a tile on a constituent record in NXT. So we'll show you how we built that first, the flow. And actually, sorry, I forgot to mention one thing that you will want to do. You will want to create an application. I'm not going to go over that. I think there's good instructions on how to do that, because you'll need to put some information in here. And that application, you're going to use the ID to put in here. The 4 steps that are really in this template are 1, the HTTP request, validate the user identity token, compose the JSON and the response. Now I've added in here kind of some steps. Again, this is in the blog post. I believe, yep, he's got it right here, where you can use the send an HTTP request. And this is just kind of a scope that I've used to pull all the proposal purposes in, and so that I can use that later on in this JSON when I compose it. I've done the same thing for the action types. So we can kind of just go through real quick. You know, it's a get call. You use your API subscription key, your authorization, and we're going to change some of that. And then what you'll do once you kind of get that information, that's something that you can use as you build your adaptive card here. And a lot of this, it may look potentially intimidating, which it would to me early on, but really all we're doing is copying it from this adaptive card that we've built. You can just copy and paste it right into your flow. But then to get, for some of these that you haven't entered, this is where I had before the insert NXT table values here, and I'm grabbing the output from the proposal purposes up above in the flow. And so I've gone through all of this, and so what that is going to look like is this card here, tile here. So you can enter information, and I'm just going to put some dummy information in here as I'm talking. You see that you can drop down and you can pick some of these. This was information that I entered. This is information that comes from a table because we put it in. So I'm just going to, and as you can see, I made them all required because they're all important. And I want my gift officers to enter that. They always get 100% success. So just put some of this in. Oops. I got to pick, sorry. Now I have a submit button here, but if I, you know, when you first do that flow, it's going to kind of go nowhere. It's not going to actually create, it's not going to create anything for you. But to make this button kick off that secondary flow, again, going back to Ben's, he has a thing in here. It's when you're building that adaptive card, it's always going to have kind of that action, execute, save. But what you really want is an action web request that triggers a flow, triggers that secondary flow, which we're going to use to build or put in that actual opportunity or proposal. So what I have already done that. So we'll put it at the bottom. We have an action web request. The title submit. This link we're going to get when you build your next flow. Again, this is a template that you can download, and that link is going to be right from here. The other thing that you need to do in this secondary flow to pass all of the data that you collected from this card, this adaptive card tile here, and to pass it into this flow, you need to build out your schema here. I've just made everything strings. As I've said in another thing, whether it's best practice or not, it works. So that's what I did for all of these. And these correspond kind of to the fields in your adaptive card. So you want to put those in that first time. Then I kind of pulled in some other information. I just grabbed the solicitor who's on the record, or the fundraiser ID. And again, I've kind of to get that fundraiser ID here, because we're going to use that when we create an opportunity. And you'll see that this record ID is passed through, purpose is passed through from whatever you've entered on that card, proposal name, all of this information. There's things, and then the solicitor ID of who you want to assign that to. We have some other information that we want to do. And you may have also noticed on here, we have some things about like number of installments. Is this a plan or deferred gift? Those are kind of fields that we repurposed on a proposal record, but also fields that aren't necessary, that you can't enter at the moment through Power Automate. So I just built into my flow to add them, add a row into a table in an Excel document. So it's pretty much ready to go and import that information so that it can be added in quickly, and our reports can still run. So this is the secondary flow that actually builds in that opportunity. So being the risk taker that I am, I'm going to give this a go and hope that it works for you. And it takes a second. And so we have a new opportunity has been created. Please refresh the page. Always listen to your pop-ups. They're never spam. And so let's hope opportunities comes up with something here. There we are. And so here's the opportunity that I just entered. And you can click into that and it's all there. I mentioned some of the reason why we did this was to control the data entry. I think, an added benefit can be that as folks are potentially entering this proposal or opportunity here, they can see all that other information on the person's record. So if they want to look up something about their last gift, they have it right there. It's something that they need to do. They can't mistype the record ID, which was something that they could have done with the Microsoft form. And for me, as a DBM, it just really controls what they can put in. There's a lot less cleanup for me to do. So this was, kind of something that I did. I knew it was something that I could potentially build easily. I knew I had a solution if it didn't work. But it really wasn't that hard, thankfully, because I still had access to Ben Lambert, who helped me when I got stuck in a few spots. But really, I think it's something that hopefully we can expand upon. And I think of, potentially, it's also not a Power app, which requires a license. But something that we can expand upon and almost create default sets through there. So there's certain things we need to update, and to have kind of asking for the specific pieces of information gives it more people an opportunity to enter that information and less reliance on me to get it in. Let's see. So that's all I have for you. I'm going to stop sharing, and you can look at my wonderful avatar. So Alex, will Blackbaud expand on action type? Those action types were our options. So not like mail and that, they were like cultivation, solicitation. Hopefully that answered your question a little bit. Carol, not constituent action. I had the Excel table because there are certain values that can't be, certain fields that we can't write to with the Power Automate flow. So I just dumped them into an Excel file. It gets the ID and everything that I need there to do an import. I also can do some duplicate checking. And so that's what the Excel is for. Okay, thanks, Catherine. So adaptive card actions. I don't know that, so maybe somebody from Blackbaud can answer that question, Alex. That's a good question. And if there's anything, I know I went through that kind of quick, so if there's anything, since nobody else, I guess, is in the room, I have a few minutes that I could hang around if there's something else that people had a specific question about or wanted to see. But if not, I don't mean to I think trivia is later, so I don't want to keep people from that. Thank you, Austin. Trivia is in 30 minutes. So, well, if there are no other questions, thank you for indulging me, and hopefully this was helpful. And I'll be around, and you can always find me in the community as well. And happy to answer questions about it.